everything I'm going to show and talk about is like still in progress, even if like most things are ready at this point, but there are some changes probably coming. So what's the background here? Well, so as you probably know, when you're working with the XP, you are defining all the various schemas and many of the configuration files inside of your app as XML. And as you know, it's no longer as hot as it was. And also it is not kind of, there's no direct transition from XML to JSON. And we already use a lot of JSON inside our own code. So when Content Studio renders forms, we actually retrieve it as XML and parse it and then deliver it as JSON so we can render it. So that's kind of the foundation for doing something. And yeah, we have had a lot of feedback about this one especially. So many developers now, they want to see more modern formats. So why YAML? Because the first question everyone asked me is, oh, why not JSON? So I'll start telling you why. Basically, YAML is a superset of JSON. So it's actually JSON plus comments. And comments are useful. And also JSON is more like a data format in a way, and YAML is more like a definition and properties and configuration format. So, and also hugely popular, of course, in Kubernetes and cloud and everything. So, those two things are kind of the foundational. We also then get validation capabilities through JSON schema. So that's part of the capabilities here. So we don't lose that because we had it with the XML. But it's also leaner, less verbose than JSON. And did I mention more popular than XML? So these are the reasons for doing YAML. Also, when we're doing it, we try to future-proof not just using YAML, but how we actually structure it. So we kind of look slightly into the future and anticipate things we're going to do. So we'll see that as we move forward. Here's an existing content type in an ancient language, and yeah, it's a bit verbose, etc., etc. But it has been working well. So the new thing looks like this, and yeah, I was actually a bit surprised myself. But there are some interesting things. I will get into more details about that later. So we've done some small tricks that make it even leaner in a way. So so that's what it looks like. And when we dive into a single input, because these are typically the ones you will repeat a lot, we see one thing in particular I want to mention. This help text, if you look at that one, we do support localization. And the way we do localization is you can reference a key. And this will be used to look up the localization in different languages, etc. And you can also write this simply as help text : and just a string straight out. So if you don't do localization, you don't need the help text text. So these are some of the small tricks we do to simplify structuring and make it more compact. So every field that can be localized, you can do the same thing. So label here, you can have label and text and label I18N. Also, the way it works is that sometimes some inputs will have additional configurations, like allowed content types, or like you see here, regular expression. So those will also be available on the same kind of level. And we will do, behind the scenes, we're doing a JSON schema check, and we're checking against, yeah, it's text line, and then, yeah, this is allowed, it's valid, etc. And finally, we're introducing a new field for random content, basically, random fields, attributes. So within the attributes, you can put whatever you like, And this can be used by your applications or code and whatever, if you want to look at the metadata, right? The schemas for content or whatever. So it's quite handy. Any questions to this, or does it make sense, I guess? Yeah. So a bit of future-proofing in many ways here. So what will you have to do? Well, you have to go through a few things when you go from XP7 to XP8 in your app. So for every app you have to rename the site folder to CMS. And this is a clarification. It's a quick one. All the content types have to be migrated. The pages, the parts, the layouts, like Benny talked about, like you have to convert all of them. And Xdata will also have to be converted, but they will also have to be renamed to mixins. And mixins will be renamed to something else. And I'll tell you why. But it's basically about making it simpler to understand when you come into XP and when you use Content Studio even. Because Xdata is not so intuitive for people. So basically what you see is Xdata disappears here. The site XML file is now going to be split into two files. Site YAML and CMS YAML. So basically you won't need the site YAML if you're just doing headless stuff. Then you just use the CMS YAML. The services and the ID providers as well. So, and of course you have to do all of this manually. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because we have the XP8 migrator, which is working. And I'm gonna show you how it works. We'll see. We'll see. It's always scary, right, with demos. But so I tried it the first time yesterday. So it's just a piece of a small application that you see. I have an existing app here, a bunch of content and schemas and whatnot going on. And I should just be able to run it on the application here. There we are. So now the site folder was renamed to CMS. And if I go into content type and post, we see the XML file still exists because we keep it for convenience. But you now have a YAML file. And this is kind of done for everything. So you don't have to do anything. So that's good. I think sort of smoothing out the upgrade process is really important. So we're trying to do as much as we can for both XP8 and for your apps. So it's going to be as low a possible effort to upgrade. Okay. So I have some more slides, even if you don't like them. Yeah, it's going back here. All right. Yeah. Oh, okay. Come on. We love it. So Content Studio 6 will also be released together with XP8. And it's going to have a brand new design and also some improved interaction points. And this is the new XP menu, the small thing that's been showing up on your right-hand side. It's going to be more like a home screen. And these are the admin tools. But this is not the important thing. If we look at the forms, which are more relevant for the YAML, the forms will also get a new design. And Allan will talk more about Enonic UI, which is the library that's going to power this basically. What's interesting is to see the new approach to old Xdata, which are now then mixins here. And the idea is you can just click and say, I want to add a new mixin to my form. And this is easier to communicate. Just mix in a new form into what I already have. And it's going to be stored in the same way with the X in the data. So there's also an X in mixin. So we didn't forget that. So that's kind of That's kind of the foundation of how things will look. Also want to take you to what's going to happen after XP8, and because here's when I think it gets really exciting. Here's when things are really kind of starting to bring new opportunities to people. And this is that schemas will be persisted in the system, and you will be able to potentially edit them directly from Content Studio. Of course, you can still have them in your apps, but you can also import and export, and you can lock down production, whatever you want to do. But the main thing here is that the schemas will be possible to manage without building an XP app. So of course, you can still have them in a Git repo. This is mostly relevant if you're building headless, just want the data model. But you can still do, naturally, you can still do the power approach with apps. So no changes for apps, just new possibilities. And we think this is going to be useful in many ways because it means you can go in, look at the schema. Are there any instances of this content type? Yeah, there's a 500. Okay, I won't delete this, or now I can use those 500 for something useful. So we really look forward to this. And we actually have done a lot of the work already, but we see it's too much to put into XP8, so we rather push it. And finally, when you combine this new stuff here with the persistence schema stuff and the UI library that Alan will show you, it means you will be able to build custom input types. And even more exciting, you can of course ship them as apps or as libraries if you want to. And why is that interesting? Well, go to Enonic Market, download Jonas' 10 best inputs and start using them in your schemas instantly. Right? So this is, I'd say, a radical change of how fast you can get going. It means you don't have to go all the way down to coding every time. And you can also get this extensibility that we've been longing to do for a long time. But now the pieces are falling into place, and I hope combined with a clear kind of interface for how to build this, Enonic UI library, and this new schema system, it's going to be super nice and fast to kind of create your own input types as well. Throw in the Claude as well, and should be blooming with new stuff here on market. So that's it. I will also say that we work to release XP8 and Content Studio 6 in Q1. So there's a lot of work for a lot of people there still, but at least many of the hard things are working now. Any questions?
In your slide, you said that YAML give us some kind of validation.
Yes.
Which?
Okay, so when an app gets installed, we will validate it. So you're not able to install a schema that's broken. But you can also use your editor and connect it to the JSON schemas that represent the content schemas. And then you can get editor validation.
Maybe other features which new, for example, custom sort, or another new feature which is available on the new Content Studio 6.
Custom
sorting.
No, I won't go into Content Studio 6 in this presentation, but there are many small improvements in Content Studio 6. We have tried not to do big features, but with the new libraries and all things we're doing, we are able to work much faster than we did with the legacy framework that we built 10 years ago. Yeah, Benny?
Will the migrator be a part of
the... Yeah.
Will the migrator be a part of Enonic client?
The CLI? Yeah. We don't know exactly how we will distribute it yet, but at least it will be very easy to get it. Either we will ship a ready-to-run binary, or we'll figure it out. We haven't kind of concluded. The CLI is written in Go, and the migrator was created in Java, so it's like not directly.
Make it easy
you're going to use it like the one time you do the upgrades, and then you don't need it anymore. So it's not like a central piece in the long term. Yeah. Jonas.
Yeah, if I'm gonna make my 10 most favorite input types, what kind of freedom will I have in the front end when making my 10 favorite input types app?
Yeah, that's a good question. Everything isn't settled, but basically the idea is, at least we hope you will want to use our component library. You can of course extend it and do your own stuff, but literally what you're going to get is an area within the label and within the error text and stuff like this, which is yours. So if you want to show Google Maps or make a hyper big application, you can do it. But you will have to follow some rules, because we expect you to return one of our root data types, like it could be an object or it could be one of the string, etc., etc. So you have to kind of follow our world of pattern, but visually you should do anything, I hope. Yeah.